And because I just started recording, I'd like to just welcome everyone again. Thank you for coming to this webinar today. It's a time to learn because of working with kids, and we just want to, like sharpen one another and have a speaker share her best practices with us today. And so welcome everyone. My name is Grace Ilori, and today we have our speaker. Her name is Sharon Lemfest. And we have a sign language interpreter for today. Her name is Anna Olanyinka, who is a volunteer. Thank you for joining us, everyone. And so we go back to our polls. Would like to know, what role do we all play in these children's lives? So go ahead. Okay, so we have 32% who are general education teachers. We have special education teachers, 42%. We have administrators as 11%. We have family members, people who are parents, 11%, and other related services, 5%. That's cool. And then what class of children do you teach? Do you teach preschool, elementary, secondary? Please, can you state that? So we have 29%. Okay, still moving. 2 more seconds and we'll end the poll. Okay. We have 26% for preschool, 53% for elementary school, and we have 21% for secondary school. Okay. Thank you all so much. And so without wasting more time, I'd like to pass it over to Sharon to go ahead and do your job for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Grace. I'm very excited to be here. Welcome to everyone. My name is Sharon Lenfest, and I am currently a toddler teacher at Fisher Early Learning Center. And Grace and I do work very closely together on a weekly basis, where she's in my classroom and we work together. I'm sorry. I have previous experience as a director and a teacher at Christ and Holy Trinity Preschool in Westport. I was at that school previously for 10 years. And I also have worked as an elementary school teacher and in community mental health, and was a project director for some large research studies at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. And I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so I know we have a very international group, but I did grow up in Pennsylvania, and I have a family of husband and 2 children. My girls are 17 and 19 years old, and I feel very passionately about early childhood education and the importance of really making a very positive impact in providing caring, supportive environments for young children. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and start my little slideshow for you. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and feel free to enter some questions into chat, or Grace is going to help me kind of manage making sure that if you have questions that I pause and make sure that I go into more information for you if you have questions. I'll go ahead and start. Can everybody hear me okay? No problems with audio or anything? We're good?
Absolutely, we're good.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the slideshow, and we'll take it from there. All right, so our topic today is social emotional development in early childhood classrooms. And our objectives for today are to define social emotional development and discuss why it is important, to discuss social emotional learning objectives for young children, to discuss the strategies and language that we can use in the classroom to really promote social emotional development, and to discuss how we can create a caring and inclusive classroom community and school community that supports those social emotional objectives for children that we have identified. And my goal is to really impress upon you the importance of providing intentional social emotional learning experiences in your early childhood settings, and provide you with some good strategies or new ideas of things you can do to achieve those objectives with the children that you take care of. It sounds like a lot of you are working very closely with children in the classrooms. So let's start by just doing some definitions. What is social emotional development and why is it important? And there's two components. We've got social development, which refers to a child's ability to create and sustain meaningful and positive relationships with adults and the other children in their lives. And the second part of that is emotional development, which is a child's ability to express, recognize, and manage their emotions, as well as respond appropriately to the emotions of others. And both of these are equally important and really critical for a foundation of, of lifelong development. And everybody's working on this throughout childhood, and everybody's at their own pace and figuring out where they are. And our role is to really support their development in these areas. Oops. Sorry, I went too fast. So what are the characteristics of socially and emotionally healthy children? If you really look at the characteristics, you will find that very socially and emotionally healthy children are usually in a positive mood. They listen and follow directions. They have close relationships with caregivers and peers. They care about friends and show interest in others. They recognize, label, and manage their own emotions. They understand others' emotions and show empathy. They express their wishes and preferences clearly. They gain access to ongoing play and group activities, and they're able to play, negotiate, and compromise with others. Children that are socially and emotionally healthy tend to demonstrate and continue to develop all of these skills. And these are what really enable them to build positive relationships and interact successfully with others. These are the kids that really navigate the classroom environment very easily and without being very upset frequently. They're really figuring it out and navigating some problems and conflicts pretty easily. This is an excerpt that I thought really captures how social emotional health affects a person's overall development and capacity to learn. And it says the ability to understand one's own feelings and the feelings of others, to regulate and express emotions appropriately, to control impulses, tolerate frustration, follow limits and expectations, and delay gratification are all critical to a child's success in school and in life. These are extremely important skills as a foundation that we're building for these children, that they take to all of the future school and life experiences that they're going to have. So why is social emotional development so important during the early years? The early years are a very critical time for the formation of positive feelings towards yourself as a human being, others, and the world around you. So we see that social emotional development progresses very rapidly between the ages of 3 and 6 years old. And children, we know, are very dependent upon and generally highly responsive to adult input and support. They're looking to us they're listening to us. They're paying attention to our behavior very closely. We're their role models, right? And the parts of the brain that support cognitive self-regulation are particularly influenced by environmental input. The environment that they're in and how it's structured matters. It makes a big difference. And how we interact with them is important. And how we convey that we feel about them helps them figure out how they feel about themselves. So all of these are important. All right, benefits of social emotional learning. What are those benefits? So as we know, young children develop and learn in the context of their relationships. And when they're encouraged and they're nurtured and accepted by adults and peers, they're more likely to be well adjusted. Research shows that evidence-based social emotional learning programming produces positive impacts on children's development of social emotional skills, enhancing their learning engagement, interpersonal relationships, and behavioral adjustment and school success. Children that have more negative experiences, they may be neglected or rejected or abused, they are at higher risk for social and mental health challenges. So it's very important that we pay attention and provide them with a very nurturing experience. And I just want to note that all children benefit from social emotional learning programming, but the benefits are even greater for children that have delays in social emotional skill development associated with early socioeconomic disadvantage or developmental delays or disabilities. Children that have delays or disabilities are sometimes, they may have delays in language, they may have delays in reading social cues, they may be more likely to self-isolate and things like that. So these are really important skills for those children to gain. And research shows that high quality early learning opportunities can even mitigate the effects of poverty and maternal depression and other risk factors that reduce they reduce the risk that children will experience poor mental health. And our goal is to kind of offer experiences that really help children gain a resiliency to the other experiences that they have in their lives. And I just want to impress upon you how much what you're doing in a school setting really does matter. It really makes a difference for children. Having caring adults for children is a very protective factor for children. All right, so let's start with just a few other definitions. A few terms that you may have heard relating to social emotional skills are self-regulation, emotional literacy, and resiliency. So I just put the definitions there so we can just kind of review what they are. And these capacities develop over time, and they're really supported by having a safe and predictable classroom environment and schedule. When teachers create very clear norms and rules for the classroom community. In our classroom, we want you to be safe, we want you to be kind, and we want you to be, I've got toddlers, so we kind of stick with helpful, but you can also say responsible. Learning to be responsible and helpful kind of go together. But little ones like to be helpers. So we kind of talk about, we need your help. We need your part of this. You can help too. And encouraging children to make decisions and problem solve, and offering experiences that really support their meaningful involvement in the classroom community. So emotional literacy is the ability to express one's emotions and feelings using speech and other forms of communication. And that also involves sort of increasing a child's vocabulary. You know, kids kind of start out with the mad and happy, and there's a lot more words that we want them to kind of have to explain the nuances of really what they're experiencing. Are you scared? Are you afraid? Are you angry? Are you frustrated? Are you mad? Or, we're going through all the more complexities of human emotion with them and giving them words to label those things. Self-regulation involves being able to control impulses by not acting. We call that behavioral self-regulation. Planning and problem solving, which is cognitive self-regulation, and managing feelings, which is their emotional self-regulation. And resiliency refers to a person's ability to withstand and recover quickly from difficulties, such as stress, adversity, failure, challenges, or even trauma. So these are qualities that we're going to want to support for all children, right? And hopefully as adults we're pretty good on these things. So all right, so how do we really know what our objectives are? So what are the social emotional concepts, skills, abilities, and areas of development that we should really focus on in the classroom? Because I think it's good for us to know what behaviors are we really wanting to teach. If a child doesn't know how to put a puzzle together, we will sit and talk about strategies they can use to turn the piece, fit it in a different way, or maybe work on the outside edge pieces and then do the centerpiece or something like that, or look at the picture underneath the puzzle. And we'll give them some strategies and work with them on how they can do that. If they're having a problem socially, are we really talking about some strategies they can use? Are we really fostering skill development? Are we providing intentional language that we use and intentional experiences to kind of support these objectives? So it's very important for teachers to know what these objectives are. I want to point out to you that almost all programs have frameworks that they use for their learning outcomes. If you work at a school, you may have a framework that you use that's from the State Department of Early Childhood or the school administration, or from, Head Start has a framework for early learning outcomes. And a lot of programs have frameworks that really outline learning progressions and objectives for children. For this talk, I'm gonna use as an example the framework that we use at Fisher. And Fisher uses a framework called Teaching Strategies, or Teaching Strategies Gold. And I want to kind of just go through, but they're all very similar. When I worked at my previous school in Connecticut, we used the Connecticut State Department of Early Childhood. They had a system called Connecticut DOTS, which was documentation and observations for teaching system. And in that, they had learning progressions that we as teachers referred to when we were lesson planning and when we were deciding what types of activities to do at circle time, or in the classroom environment, what we would provide as materials. So they're all very similar, and they're all really, really helpful to you as a teacher of sort of like, let's see, how are we doing on this with a particular child, with our class as a whole? Maybe we need to talk more about this, or come up with some new ways to really have them practice these skills. So, all right, let's go through. I just real fast want to show you the domains. In general, all the frameworks relating to social emotional development talk about self-regulation, emotional expression, a sense of self or identity, and then talking about relationships with adults and relationships with peers. Those are the general categories that fall under social emotional skills. And they include being able to get along and cooperate with others, manage their strong feelings, because we all know little people, especially toddlers, have very strong feelings, the ability to focus attention and persist at challenging tasks. And these are so, so very important. They're very critical, and they really deserve our attention because they really impact their long-term success in school and in life. It just applies to everything. Everything they do, this stuff comes up, right? So, okay. All right, so my teaching strategies, on this slide, I have for you the objectives for development and learning that we use when we're looking at social emotional objectives for children. So as you can see, we've got regulates their own emotions and behaviors as one category, establishes and sustains positive relationships, and participates cooperatively and constructively in group situations. And all of this comes up all the time, right? Every day we're working on this stuff. And these we use, I use them when we're lesson planning, actually, and I kind of highlight some of them sometimes and kind of focus more on planning some additional activities in these areas. But they really help us observe children carefully. And that is an important step, to really observe them and where they are in their development in these areas. And then enable us to think about, how are we setting up opportunities for them to practice and master these skills or abilities. So that's what, as teachers, we're really focused on, right? All right, so one other thing about teaching strategies that I find helpful is they give you learning progressions, and they use color bands. So I know some of you said you were with preschoolers, some of you are elementary, and if you look, as a teacher, you could kind of pick your color band. For me, I pretty much have 2 to 3 year olds, and I am always focused on the yellow learning band. That doesn't mean that every child in my class is in the learning and is in the yellow band, but that's sort of my, if I look at a normal distribution, most of them are going to be right around there in terms of their development. And then I'm going to tailor the experiences, and my expectations for what they can do should be appropriate for that level. So you want to make sure that what you're providing in terms of your environment and your activities are developmentally appropriate. And you'll know when you've overshot it, because it's not going to work out so well. But you want to also be able to adapt it so that children that are a little higher in their development can still engage in a enriching way, and children that aren't quite there yet are still able to engage in a way that is helpful to them. So what I did here is I just kind of took little excerpts from the teaching strategies objectives, and specifically, so you can see how you can look at them on a progression. So the first objective is regulates own emotions and behaviors, manages feelings. So for this one, if you think about that yellow band on the screen, toddlers, it's very normal in their development for us to see them in the school environment comforting themselves by seeking out a special object or person. And then they're working toward, in their development, being able to look at a situation differently or delay gratification. And much younger children are really requiring having an adult support to calm themselves. So we can see that there's a development there. And how can we really support this? Well, we can be very responsive and caring and nurturing. We can let them know that we understand that they're upset, and we can say, oh, you sound upset. Can you tell me what the problem is? And help them kind of figure out how they're feeling, and validate their feelings, label their feelings. Think of strategies that are individually comforting for that child, like their blanket. Some children have different, special object or special activity or special book that they like, and talking about calming down, taking deep breaths, things like that. So, all right, let's go to the next one. 1B, it's still regulating our emotions and behaviors, teaching children to follow limits and expectations. And one thing that teachers can do is really be consistent in their classroom expectations and routines. We can offer visual clues in the classroom, such as, little strips that show the steps of washing your hands, and the daily schedule. Oh, first we're going to do circle, and then we're going to have breakfast after that. And you can see from the specific examples of observable behaviors in this learning progression that, they're responding to a voice from an adult, and they may not really know what to do, to being able to kind of have some redirection. And then eventually they're growing towards managing the classroom rules and routines with only occasional reminders. Pretty soon they're like masters of their domain here. They've got it. They know what to do. They're anticipating the routine. They're helpful. They're helping friends, things like that. And those are what those behaviors we're moving towards. So, and you need to be very willing to keep repeating those expectations and providing those visual cues for the children who still need them. And then kind of giving them some individualized help as needed. All right. Let's look at taking care of own needs appropriately. I want to just impress upon you that as children are becoming more independent and taking care of their own needs, it is helpful. Like you can see the little picture of the kids learning to watch. Be willing to really train them and teach the skills. Take the time, more time than you think they necessarily need, but keep talking about the steps and scaffolding them carefully about how to learn how to put on their jacket, and notice what part of that sequence of things that they need to do to accomplish that do they get tripped up on, that you can jump in and kind of offer minimal help. You don't want to do too much, but can you start it for them and they can finish it, or can they start it and you can finish it, or somewhere in between, that you're really working together so they really get to practice it, and that we're not just sort of saying, oh, they can't do it, I'll do it for them, or they can do it themselves. What's that area in between where we can kind of get in there and support them. All right. This is objective 2, establishes and sustains positive relationships and forming relationships with adults. This is where being warm, responsive, and affectionate with children, comforting children when they're distressed and upset, providing safe boundaries for children, managing transitions and separations. Those are hard for young children. We want them to feel safe. We want them to feel secure. We want them to have us be that safe place for them that they can come back to, and then they can go forth. And
now we're going to get all of our new forms.
Children with secure relationships with adults do begin to self-regulate their strong emotions with the help of adults, and they learn to express their emotions in healthy ways, which is what we want for all children. And they also learn that strong feelings are okay, and that the strategies for calming down, even though it's hard to calm down, that they can get an adult support to do that if they need it, and to solve some social problems with their peers. Responding to emotional cues. Be a good role model, and show concern for the feelings of others. Do not ignore a child who's whining or crying or gets hurt just because you're doing something else. Ask them what's wrong or what the problem is and offer to help. Those are the behaviors we want to see children doing, so they need to see us doing that too. And you can even suggest ways a child could help someone else feel better if they're not sure what to do. But showing concern, using children's stories, puppets, also like photographs of children in scenarios with facial expressions, and talking about what you notice about the child's face or their behavior, and how do you think they're feeling and why do you think they're feeling that way, are all good experiences and opportunities for them to learn and develop empathy for each other. So you can do this intentionally, like in circle time. You can have it in the book area. You can do it as it comes up, but it's worthy of our focus. It's very important for children to be able to kind of read the room and read their peers and be able to be responsive in appropriate ways. All right, interacts with peers. support children in their ability to share space and materials. Model for them how to join play, sustain play by sharing their ideas, taking turns. You can also offer small group activities when you see that a child is really struggling to join play with ongoing play. And sometimes it's a little easier to practice that in a small group setting or with certain more easygoing types of children. You can kind of pick and choose role models for them that are in their peer groups, and really supporting those interactions, because the more we support it when they're young, the more they have those skills to build on when they come to the point of really building friendships. And that's what we want for all children. We want them to have friends, right? And someone to feel close to and in sync with at school, that they can have enjoyable experiences with.
Sorry, Sharon, sorry to cut in. Can you give us an example of, children and playing and how another child wants to play but don't know how to join play? Can you just paint, a scenario and for each of those?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you have a situation where you have some kids, let's see, like in my class right now, we have lots of trains this week. So we have some kids that are wanting to set up the train tracks and put the trains on along the track and line them up. And if a child wants to join and use that track, sometimes another child will say, no, I'm using that or something, and not want them to join. But we can sometimes support them in using their words with each other and saying, can I play? And or can I have a turn? And so they're asking to enter the play, or they're offering something to the child who's playing, or an idea. And they're and it depends on the age of the child. We do much more support with toddlers than we might need to do with preschoolers or older children, but really saying, well, look what they're doing. They're building the track. If you want to join and you're taking the track, that would be frustrating for them. So what could you do to help them build the track? And so you're kind of talking with them and kind of helping them think of some options that they might have. Or do you want to wait? Do you want to use it later? Do you want to ask for a turn? Should we get a timer? We could get a timer and you could have a turn with the track in 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever. And you're really supporting them in finding a solution, listening to each other, and kind of finding some way to share those materials and join that ongoing play, so that they really understand what the ideas are behind the play and how they can kind of participate in that in a cooperative way. What we want them is to join and cooperate, or join and bring their ideas and have other friends be open to them. So is that enough of an example, Grace, or do you want something more specific?
Yeah, thank you for that, Sharon. We have some questions in the
Okay.
chat box, and I'd like to read
Oh yeah,
out.
let me open the chat here.
One says, most pupils, most students find it difficult to relate their emotions with us as teachers, as adults. What can we do to make them relate favorably to us in school?
Let's see.
Yeah, like if they don't want to share their emotions, how do you, as an adult, help?
How do you draw them out, right? If they're really not feeling comfortable sharing their emotions, is that sort of, yeah, that's hard, right? And we can't force them, right? That's not being respectful, but we can tell them what we notice. We can say, I see that you're standing back here, or you seem like you're a little sad today. I wonder why. If we at least share that we notice and we wonder and we're concerned, then we convey to them that opportunity to share with us. And it may take time and patience. It may not happen the first time we do it, right? We might just have to sit and stay close and just say, I'm going to stay close. If you need me, I'm here. And see how it goes and see where they take it from there and how responsive they are. It's so individualized, and it's such a challenge to really build that trust. You know, it takes you're building trust and becoming a safe place, and it can take time, especially when there are very strong emotions, or there are emotions that are more complex because they have an element of trauma or stress or something else that go along with them. It can be very overwhelming for children. So I would say, you know, providing that opportunity for them to share with you and being available is a good first step. And then maybe even labeling sort of what you think they might be feeling. I think you might be feeling a little anxious or something. Can you tell me, how do you feel? Do you feel worried about something? Then you're at least providing the language that might enable them to label or identify how they're feeling, because they may not have the words or the vocabulary to be able to express it.
Yeah, thank you. I think that answers to the second question, which says, how can you help a child that constantly faces emotional abuse at home? And I know this would be different for your environment, like how to handle this, and it may be different from, you know, other parts of the world. But whatever you have to say to this, it's okay, and I can add to that.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really tough situation when you know that they're facing emotional abuse at home in a very harsh environment that is not supportive. And you know, you can't change necessarily what's going on at home unless you have a trusting, secure relationship with those parents, and you're really working with the parents and they're willing to collaborate with you in making some changes. That's, you know, that may or may not happen. You can advocate for the child's needs, and if they need additional services or support, you can advocate for the child receiving those. You can also try to kind of mitigate the effects by, in the school environment, providing what they would need in order to have just an idea that it doesn't always have to be like that, and it's not just about them, and that's not like they don't need to be treated like that all the time, and it's not all adults are like that. For young children, they tend to think the way they're treated at home is the way the whole world is going to treat them, right? And what we want to do is say, you know what, you can come to school and this is how we do it at school, and this is a safe, caring place for you, and so you can settle into this and you can trust this, and it can help kind of mitigate some of those experiences for them. I don't know, go Gracie, what else should I, or what else do you think is a good point to make on that?
Yeah, I think giving them that assurance and helping them feel safe in your class goes a long way, and also helping them know that you hear them. I hear you, I see you, and I want you to feel, know that you feel safe here. And establishing that will help them, you know, at least be able to open up to you. And then
Volume.
continue from that point to then, you know, if we have to invite their parents to have a walk with them, and, you know, just talking to your line manager so we can escalate it from that point. And also we can help kids that, you know, I want to believe that the child is, I'm trying to mute someone. Okay, so if a child is always being abused emotionally, you know, that child is not going to learn. That child is not going to pay attention in class. And that will be frustrating for the rest of the students and for the teacher as well. And so we can also have behavior modification, you know, like do an observation, assess the child, and provide behavior modification for the child, in addition to inviting the parents and having a chat with them. And, you know, I think that would go a long way to help. But the school has to have a way of managing all of that. There has to be a structure to how we go about that. And the last question that I see here, not the last actually, I'm having a difficult time with a child as she's always screaming and throwing tantrums instead of expressing her needs. She has poor communication skills. How do I help? Sharon, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, well, she's expressing her needs. She's just expressing them by screaming, right? We want her to shift and be able to express them maybe without screaming and having a tantrum, right? So the communication skills is key. What you hit it right there. This child needs some words to be able to express. But sometimes it is sort of an emotional regulation issue too. Sometimes they just get flooded and they can't just pull back from it. It's gone to, they're too upset. They've just gotten way too upset with it. And so they sometimes need to kind of, you can take them to walk them over to another part of the classroom, or remove them from the place where the tantrum's happening or something, and kind of, remove them and then talk about it a little bit later. Let them calm down, encourage them to take some deep breaths, whatever it is to kind of calm them down and talk about it. But and then you can model the words that you would want the child to say, or you can say, oh, it looks like you're having a hard time. You got so upset. And then say, validate what you think they wanted. You wanted mommy to stay. You love mommy. You wanted mommy to stay. You're so upset because mommy had to go and you wanted her to stay. And if you say that a couple times and you're right, if you identified it because you saw what happened, you can sometimes, what triggered the tantrum. You can sometimes just validate for them. I understand. Oh, that's hard. That's really hard. But I need you to be safe. I need you to calm down with me. Let's take some deep breaths, and then we can, figure out what to do next. And but it's hard when they don't have the communication. You're gonna need to really be able to kind of get past that moment of a tantrum where they're not listening and they're just flooded, to a moment of calming down and being able to kind of hear that you understand and you validate. You may not be able to do what they want you to do, but that you hear them, you understand, and that, oh, maybe next time we can do it that way. I hear you, kind of thing. But these are the challenging moments of your day for sure, because it requires so much from us in terms of patience and persistence and empathy and understanding, but also a firmness of like, we need to be safe, and I need to keep you safe, and I need to keep our friends safe. And I'm gonna help you through this moment, but I can't necessarily just give you what you want either, so. And let's see, do we have another question we wanted to address now, Grace?
Yeah, just going with what you said. So so for that child who has poor communication, another thing that can help is, picture exchange communication. Okay. So you have pictures of the different, just like the child's schedule, and maybe the child is trying to say, I need this, or I want this, or this is happening, because every behavior that a child exhibits is communication, is saying something. You just may not be able to pick what exactly that behavior is. So you want to have a picture that shows the different activities, and the child is able to point to it and say, this is what I want. And you're able to, know. And yeah, I think that would help. Sharon, I think we'll just go on, and then we can take other questions later. Yeah.
Okay, so there's just a couple more. It says, the next one is makes friends. So you, as a teacher, you want to notice who children tend to choose to sit next to or play with. And you want to talk about their choices, and you want to talk about, oh, you enjoy, it looks like you really enjoy playing trains with John. You played with him yesterday too. And you want to notice those things, because children start out kind of playing with whoever's near them, and they're not really collaborative. They're just doing parallel play or associative play. And then they're eventually sharing some materials in space. They might be sharing some ideas, and they might prefer certain playmates that they maybe have more experience with, or they see outside of school, and they're playing at a slightly higher level with those children. And so that's going to be sort of their highest functioning play, the ones that are really preferred playmates. And then those are the foundations of building friendships, and they're talking about special relationships and things like that. So we just want to, as teachers, notice and help them kind of explore playing with a wide variety of children. All right. Balances the needs and rights of self and others. And if you look at the yellow band, you'll see it's for developmentally, toddlers are pretty much, it responds appropriately to others' expressions of wants. They may give another, if the child says, I want the train, they may offer it, they may not. Or they might make room for a child on the sofa if, we're reading a story and that child wants to join. But the yellow band kind of ends, and then the next behavior is taking turns. And as we know, taking turns is hard for toddlers, right? So when we use something like this to really guide us as teachers, we need to think about supporting their growth towards taking turns, but not having an expectation that all toddlers are supposed to take turns and get angry at them when they don't take turns, right? We want to teach them how to take turns, and we want to provide an environment that enables them to have experiences that support them learning this. So in my classroom, we often have duplicates of toys. We'll have, I won't bring one stuffed dog into the classroom. I bring an entire basket of stuffed dogs into the classroom. I will have 3 fire trucks and not 1 fire truck. And because it makes it more manageable for toddlers to not have to wait a turn for 12 other children to have a turn. They can have a turn. Maybe they're just sharing with really just 3 other kids because there's 3 other, choices available. And it's circle time that you're thinking about how long you're requiring them to wait to have a turn. Is it something they have to wait a really, really long time to have to wait for, or are they standing in line to wait to wash their hands while 10 other children are washing their hands? That's hard. So you want to think about, making it manageable in taking turns, and offer support in their attempts to take turns, wait their turn. And we sometimes use a timer in the classroom to help children. We can use a timer to help you wait. You can have a turn in 1 minute, and really setting the expectation that children do take turns with the materials, and that's fair. That these toys are for everyone in the room, and we expect them to be able to take turns with the materials. These toys are for everyone. So we also use a waiting chair sometimes for art activities, where it's set up for 4 children to do the art activity, and then there's 2 more chairs that they can come and sit and wait and watch the other children do it, and then they can be next, and that helps them wait too. But you're thinking about strategically as a teacher how you're doing this, so it's developmentally something they can manage, practice, and get better at, and solve social problems. So scaffolding skills by modeling the expected behavior of the next level. So you as a teacher can look at wherever the behaviors are for your level of children, and you can go to the next one and you can say, oh, they're not doing that yet. That's where I'm going to get them. Hopefully by the end of the school year, they'll be better at this. But how can you do that? Well, you can model it for them so that it seems like they're actually interacting with someone who has the skill, and then they can copy you. And you want to help them find their words and you know, how they're feeling about the problems that they're having, and come up with options for how they can calm down, or options of how they can solve their problem. We have a cozy corner in our classroom where we can have the kids go if they're screaming and they're upset, and they can kind of go in there and they can look at a book, they can do some deep breathing, they can find a new area of the classroom to play in, and they can choose a different friend to play with. We can use a timer. We can, you know, we can sometimes give them a special job to help the teacher do something like that. And that can kind of help them reset and try again. Reset, try again, kind of getting them back to kind of regulation. They're okay. You've kind of invested some of your ego strength to kind of bring them back, and then they try again. And you keep sending them back in. Oh, it looks like you guys have a problem. How can I help? You know, what can we do? And saying, oh, it looks like there's a lot of kids over here on the swing. I'm going to go stand over there and help them manage taking turns on the swing. Okay, let's see. So let's look a little more closely at how teachers can support. We've kind of talked about it already, but I did want to kind of go into it a little bit more about some positive guidance stuff. So children learn to manage their emotions, control their behavior, and plan ahead when teachers create a predictable environment and schedule, and when teachers are consistent, trustworthy, and responsive to each child's strengths, interests, and needs. So we're going to foster positive relationships. How do we do that? We model kindness and respect to the children and the other adults in the room every day. We support children in their efforts to interact and play with others and develop friendships. We monitor and scaffold children's interactions with others to help them learn respectful ways of communicating. And we help children express their feelings and needs in caring ways, and to begin to recognize that other feelings might be different from their own. Young children, sorry, it was so loud.
Erica, can you mute your mic, please? I'm trying to mute you from my end, but I'm not able. Erica, if you could please mute your mic, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so, you know, helping them understand that someone else's needs, desires, and feelings are different from their own, that perspective taking, children really do need support with learning how to do that. Children are very egocentric, and that's normal. And so we're guiding them a little bit and being able to kind of understand that, you know, everyone else in the room is just as egocentric as them, and we have different, you know, perspectives. And then they can kind of make their decisions on what to do next based on that. So, all right, so here's some positive guidance strategies. And well, these aren't the strategies. This is what positive guidance strategies really offer children. So we want to offer gentle guidance. We want our strategies to be respectful and caring. We want them to promote a positive self-image, help practice new skills. We want to help children recognize and understand their emotions. We want to reinforce appropriate behaviors, and we want to empower children to manage their own emotions and behavior. So we want to develop a mindset of guiding, not disciplining, punishing, stopping behaviors and interactions. We want to guide them through those, and we want them to kind of feel empowered to be a part of the process of figuring this stuff out. We don't want to just go in and be the director, say, you do this, you do that. We want them to be engaged in the process of figuring out what to do. And we want to guide them toward choices and behaviors that are more safe, more kind, and more helpful or responsible. So here are some strategies, and I'm just going to kind of go through these a little bit. And I know a lot of you already do a lot of these things, but you may not have thought about how they're linked to the actual objectives of social emotional learning. So I'm just going to kind of go through real quick. some of these, and I have some examples of things we can say. So, because I know as teachers, we're always thinking, maybe I should have said that a different way. Or maybe there was a better way I should have said that. And honestly, the best way to learn these things is to work with a teacher who's really good at it, right? And then you can listen to how it sounds. And because it's not always exactly what comes into your head of what to say, because sometimes we're busy and we just want the screaming to stop. And we want to solve it really fast because we have so much empathy as teachers for our little humans, and we care about them so deeply that we don't want them to be upset. But our goal is to not have them never, ever be upset. Our goal is to guide them through them so they can learn to handle strong feelings, right? So, all right, so let's go through some of these. Reflective statements. So these are statements that show children you're paying attention to them. I see you. Oh, look I see that you're using all the square blocks to build your tower. They tell the child what you notice about their behavior, and they reinforce positive, desirable behaviors. I see, John is sitting on the rug. He's ready for circle time. I noticed that you and Sarah work together to clean up the trucks, and we do this all the time as teachers, right? The I statements explain to children what is happening, label your feelings for them and the reason for your feelings. They teach children that their actions affect others, and they support increasing empathy. So you could say something like, I see that, or I feel happy when I see you helping a friend. That is so helpful and kind. I feel worried when you climb on that shelf, and I'm worried that you could get hurt. I feel frustrated when you keep playing during cleanup time. We need to work together to clean all our toys so we can be ready to go outside. Can you please help us get ready to go outside? So you're talking about your own feelings, and you're sharing with them your emotional experience so that they can say, oh, look, she does look happy. She does look frustrated, or, something like, so that they can understand and read you as a human that has a wide range of emotions, but you're handling them, you're regulating them, you're communicating them, which is what we want them to do, right? So when-then statements explain the expected sequence of behaviors. They let children know the appropriate next step and help children learn to plan. When you put your jacket on, then you can go outside. When you wash your hands, then you're ready to eat your food. When you sit on the rug, I know you're ready to listen to a story. So and it gives them information. You're not just saying, stop playing, it's time for circle. You're saying, when I see this, then I know we can do this. I know you're ready, or I know that we're ready for the next thing, that kind of thing. It's much more specific. Modeling specific language. Help children understand what behavior is appropriate. Tell children exactly what they're doing and why it's appropriate. Help children learn to solve conflicts verbally. And you might be modeling the language that they're not yet using when they're solving a conflict. So, you can really, this kind of comes to refraining from saying just good job. You want to, or use your words, and which is what teachers say a lot of times. You really want to approach conflicts and situations as opportunities to model for them specific behaviors and language that would be helpful to them when it comes up again in the future that they can use. So you could have a conflict and says, you're sharing, or a situation where it says, you're sharing the crayons with Margaret. That makes her happy because she likes to draw too. So you're not just saying good job or great. You're giving them specific information about what behavior you notice and why it's wonderful or why it's appropriate. You can say, I'm still using that car to your friend. You can have it when I'm done, and then say, now can you say it? And you're saying it and then prompting them to say it in the situation, because that's the language that might help them solve that conflict verbally instead of physically. Offering choices. Support children's independence and ability to make decisions. We want children to learn to make decisions. And we can limit choices to 2 acceptable options. You can walk outside on your own, or you could choose a friend to walk with you. Would you like to use the potty now? Or would you like to go in 2 minutes or after your friend? Where you're really kind of sometimes setting a limit or setting an expectation, but you're giving them some choice on how it's actually going to happen for them. Changing the environment could involve, oh, I think I skipped one. Hold on. Oh, I'm going the wrong way, sorry. Redirection. Provide a child with an acceptable alternative to unacceptable behavior. Encourage children to substitute undesirable behaviors with safer, more appropriate choices. And we talked about that before. So that you're offering an alternative. I see that you're practicing throwing, but it's not safe to throw rocks. Someone could get hurt. Here are some balls you could throw instead. Or please climb down off the table and find a chair to sit on. So you're offering something as a better, safer, more appropriate choice for them. All right, showing while telling. In the picture, you can see that the adult there is cleaning up. Oh, wait. Sorry. Hold on. Changing the environment, which could involve moving a child to a new location, adding or removing materials, or changing the time of day when something occurs. This often reflects when a teacher wants to adapt the environment to meet the interests or developmental needs of the children. So what we do sometimes is we put blankets over the shelves of the toys that are closest to where we do circle time as a visual cue that playtime is done, and now we're going to do circle time, or we're going to read a story, because we have toddlers and it's hard when there's toys on the shelf right next to you to stay focused. So we might, or if we notice the children are climbing a lot, we might set up an obstacle course in our motor room for them to use, because we can validate that they want to climb, but we're going to give them an opportunity to do that. You can also sometimes rearrange your schedule so that story time falls at a time of day when they're most receptive to listening. It might be hard to do that when they're hungry or really tired. All right, showing while telling involves talking to the children about what they should do while using gestures or other visual cues to show them. You want to demonstrate the behavior you expect while you explain to them what to do or what to notice. So for instance, instead of telling children, go put your coats on, you're actually putting your coat on at the same time and say, look, I'm putting my coat on. We need to put our jackets on before we go outside. And this works a little bit better because they see you doing it. And you can say it's cleanup time, but be involved in the cleaning and helping and say, oh, I found this on the floor. Could you please put this on the shelf? And I'm putting this away, and doing it together, and really kind of showing them with gestures or visual cues that you can have a visual schedule for your day, things like that. Really help children know what your expectations are of them. And Grace, how much time do we have for our videos today?
I think we're still good with time. We have 20 minutes.
Okay.
So not 20 minutes for the video, I mean, but we still have 20 minutes in total. And
okay.
So the videos, yeah.
Okay. So
if you have questions, sorry, Sharon, if you have questions, can you please put them in the chat and we will take them. Thank you.
Okay. So this is just a quick little video that I thought was helpful about conflict resolution skills and what our role as the teacher is in supporting that for children. So hopefully when I click this button, it will play. Okay.
When you first see children involved in conflict, I think it's important to step back and think about what your primary goal is. And your goal is to make this a learning opportunity for the children. So the goal is not to end the conflict immediately. The goal is not to stop conflicts from happening, But the goal is when children are in a conflict situation to try and help them learn the skills they need to be able to resolve a conflict.
Sharon, we can't hear the video anymore. Sharon, can you hear me? There's no sound coming from the video.
No sound from the video.
Yeah. There was sound initially, by the way, but it stopped.
More likely to stand up for their own rights
Can you hear it
No.
now?
as they get older.
Should I start it over? Should I go back? Let me go back. Sorry about that, guys. I
Yeah.
muted myself, but I think it muted the video
When we
too.
first,
My fault.
See children involved in conflict,
You want to increase the volume, please?
back and think about what your primary goal is. And your goal is to make this a learning opportunity for the
Better?
children. So the goal is not to end the conflict immediately. The goal is not to stop conflicts from happening, but the goal is when children are in a conflict situation to try and help them learn the skills they need to be able to resolve a conflict independently. It's winter now in our school, and so a big learning goal for us is helping children to get their snow pants and their boots on when they're getting ready to go outside. It would be a lot quicker for us if we as the adults put the children's boots on for them. But then we wouldn't be teaching them anything. It wouldn't be a learning opportunity. The same thing's true with conflicts. If two children are struggling over a marker, it would be a lot easier for us just to hand them another marker so they'd have two markers, or to separate the children, or to intervene in some other way. But that would not be a learning opportunity. As children begin to learn to use this conflict resolution procedure, they will begin to find non-aggressive ways to resolve conflicts, and aggression will begin to decrease in the classroom. So it's really important that you institute that procedure. The children who learn those conflict resolution strategies are less likely to be aggressive as they get to be older children. They're less likely to be the children who bully other children. And they're also more likely to stand up for their own rights and not be bullied as they get older.
I just love how she put that all together in such a succinct way of really summing up sort of how important it is. This next video, it is it's a little bit longer, but it gives you a good sort of framework for problem solving that I thought was something very useful for teachers. So hopefully I'll be able to play this one with audio.
Welcome to this short module on problem solving in the moment. This video highlights the ways that teachers can support children in learning how to use problem solving to deal with the upsets and conflicts and other social problems that may occur in a preschool classroom. For many young children, the preschool classroom is a new social experience. They will need to learn how to share space with other children, share toys with other children, and share the teacher's attention. It can be hard. Some problems are bound to occur. Let's find out how to help children learn to problem solve. Problem solving in the moment can be an effective way to prevent challenging behaviors, and it teaches children useful social skills. Problem solving in the moment is one of a series of in-service suites about behavior guidance. These strategies and practices help teachers create classrooms that are filled with effective and engaging interactions and environments. That's the foundation of the National Center on Quality Teaching and Learning's House Framework for Effective Practice. The other parts of the House are use of research-based curricula and teaching practices, ongoing child assessment, and highly individualized teaching and learning. There are 5 steps that help teachers guide children's behavior and encourage their problem solving in the moment. Anticipate, be close, provide support, create multiple solutions, and celebrate success. Let's see what these look like. The first step is to anticipate. As teachers observe their children, they will begin to notice the times and activities where problems are likely to happen. It might be when all the children need to transition to a new activity at one time, or when children have to wait their turn. Teachers anticipate and get ready to problem solve. The second step is to be close. The teacher regularly scans the room or playground. When the teacher has a hunch that something might lead to a problem, the teacher moves toward the action. Then, the teacher uses a calm voice to figure out the situation. Next, the teacher provides support. For the children, learning to solve problems in the moment can be difficult. The teacher needs to remind children how to use words. The teacher might have pictures or signs that remind children how to solve a problem. The teacher can cue the children by saying, "I see we have a problem. What should we do?" Or, "This is a new toy, and everyone wants to play with it at the same time. That's a problem. How can we solve it?"
Say, I have a problem.
Claire has an idea. You can share the bin of blocks.
That was a good idea.
The next step is to generate multiple solutions. There are all sorts of solutions to typical preschool problems. Children can pick a number or flip a coin or use a timer or make another choice. Some teachers create solution kits, solution lists, or solution books that contain ideas for children to try.
Do you want to look for an idea in the basket? Grab the book. You can get one.
Playing together, so you would build it together. Do you want to build together, Jeremy? Look at Amy's talking to you.
The final step is to celebrate success. Make sure that you let the children know that you appreciate their hard work in figuring out a solution, and give yourself a pat on the back. Problem solving in the moment means that you've taught the children some really important social skills. There are 5 steps, so remember to think 5. Use these 5 steps to help children be better problem solvers. These steps will also help prevent little classroom conflicts from becoming much bigger problems. Remember that learning to solve problems takes time and practice. Practice problem solving during circle time or lesson time so that children will be better problem solvers during the rest of the day. Thank you for listening. This module highlighted a behavior guidance strategy that we call problem solving in the moment. Learn more in our longer module.
I thought that was such a great video too. It really just shows exactly what really happens in classrooms and what we can do. And I think the thinking about anticipating and moving close when you see, 5 or 6 toddlers doing the same thing at the same time, or you see an activity that's very popular that you can anticipate that there might be some social conflicts, and kind of leaning into that and being available to them is so important. And I also love there's the moment right at the end when the one teacher walks next to the other teacher and kind of puts her hand on her shoulder. I think it's very important for us as educators to really support each other, because challenging behavior is called challenging behavior because it challenges us emotionally too. And we need to be supportive of each other. And our goal is to not have a perfect classroom where there's no one crying and no one upset and no fighting at all. We're gonna have to it's gonna get messy, it's gonna get loud, it's gonna have some big feelings, and we're a part of that, and we need to really support each other in handling that. And reflecting on what we can do to really do it to the best of our ability and provide a really caring environment for the children. So Grace, what do you want to do time-wise? Do you want to do a breakout group and let people chat, or do we not have enough time?
Yeah, I don't think we have more time to do that. But I just wanted to ask if we have questions, so we can take the questions.
Okay.
And you can round off, Sharon, and then we'll take questions. I see you're almost done, right?
Yes. There's
Yeah.
just one more section and I can go through it pretty quick.
Like if you take 4 minutes, that's fine.
Okay. All right. We'll do that real fast and then we'll do some questions. All right. All right. All right. So the last topic was just creating a caring and equitable classroom community. And I just wanted to take the last section. I just really wanted to talk about our goal as teachers to really help children develop personal and social identities that are positive. So intentional teachers affirm the personal and cultural identities of every child, accepting and respecting who children are in all their diversity, and recognizing that each child comes to the early childhood setting with diverse abilities, personalities, experiences, cultures, languages, traditions, and values. And on this slide, I have the letter from our director at Fisher Early Learning Center. As you know, we're an inclusive program. We have a Fisher inclusion team with specialists that support the families, the students, the teachers, and really addressing and being able to address all the developmental needs of all the children in the program. And I just thought that it really summed up sort of the philosophy of an inclusive center. And it says, as an inclusive center, we take pride in welcoming children of all abilities and from various backgrounds into a loving learning environment where their specific needs are met. By providing diverse and authentic interactions and experiences through a purposeful curriculum, our teachers and staff demonstrate a commitment to establishing a meaningful and nurturing environment in which every child in our care can flourish. The Fisher Early Learning Center is a special place where children and families feel understood and respected as individuals. We genuinely value the opportunity to collaborate with our families in order to establish a sense of community within each classroom, as well as across the entire center. And when we look at inclusive and equitable strategies for how we're actually doing that, what can teachers do? We can create a classroom that reflects the diversity of the community and society. We can create a classroom environment that promotes full inclusion of the children as a central part of the overall classroom design. We can help children with and without disabilities learn from each other and respect each other's strengths and perspectives. And this picture, this is actually a picture from my classroom this year. I just wanted to point out that children should see all aspects of their cultural identities, such as languages and practices, and in the resources within the classroom, but also, you know, from the world at large. And when teachers really utilize inclusive, culturally responsive approaches, they help children develop those positive personal and social identities. So take time to get to know your families. In that central picture, there's pictures of the families of the children in the class. And we ask parents to send those in. We do a survey at the beginning of the year to ask families about, you know, the child's experiences at home, their traditions, their religion, their holidays they celebrate, their hopes and dreams for their children. So get to know them, learn about how each family defines their race, their culture, the languages they use at home, provide exposure to books, music, toys, videos, posters that really reflect the cultures of the program and the world around them, and they really work to counter stereotypes and model a warm appreciation for children's uniqueness and differences. So, you know, think about the books you have, the visuals you have in your classroom. And as you know, teachers in inclusive classrooms strive to provide individualized education to young children with disabilities alongside their peers. young children with disabilities tend to play with others less frequently and have fewer conversations than peers who do not have disabilities. Therefore, they actually have less opportunities to practice social skills. So our support in this area is very helpful to them. So these are some of the things that we might implement as strategies. We would work to identify social emotional goals for each child. We have behavior plans. We might do developmental screenings. We might set up small groups for the children to have experiences in, teaching specific skills to them. There will be family engagement and collaboration to coordinate what we're doing at school and at home. Systematic monitoring of skill acquisition and progress. There may be an IEP with the child and meetings related to that and goals related to that at school and home we want to coordinate. And there may be specialized services that we might recommend or we might coordinate for the child or have them even come into the classroom. Lots of things. So some final thoughts to leave you with. And I'll just read these because I think they kind of sum it up better than I will. When children see themselves reflected in the classroom environment and instruction, feel cared about and connected to others, and are psychologically safe and able to become themselves, they are more likely to thrive physically, get along with others, learn well, and feel like part of the community. And research in child development and education has clearly demonstrated the power of early positive relationships in predicting a wide array of later positive outcomes. These include positive social skills and success in relationships and enhancements in cognitive skills such as thinking and reasoning. And then the last slides, I just wanted to just share with you some of the resources I thought I enjoyed using and for this talk, and I think would be really helpful to anyone who's interested in this topic. So I know Grace is going to send this out, and you can kind of, if you want more information, you can check out some of these when you have time. I also added a book list, which was from the NAEYC book on social emotional development, but there's lots. Amazon can help you if you just type in, social emotion. You can find lots of books that you can, and be very intentional about what you choose, because it matters, and it's their little world you're creating for them, and we want it to be a special place that really reflects the values and the skills that we want them to learn. And then I just want to thank you for your time. So we can do some questions now, Grace, if there's anything that else that I missed or you want more information on. Let's see.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharon. I can't see any questions in the chat box.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we answered all the questions that we got. But I just wanted to, thank everyone who has attended and stayed through.
Yeah.
Would like to get your feedback to know, how has this been helpful for you? Like, is it helpful? Did you learn anything? And if you can put that in the chat box, did you learn anything? Has it been helpful for you? And like I put in the chat box, if you can send me an email, and I put the email address, it is jwsni.ngo@gmail.com. Just say hi, and I'll know to send you your certificate and all the resources from this webinar, and resources that I have put together that I think would be helpful for what you do. Yeah, because it's not everyone who registered that attended, so it wouldn't make any sense to just send, to all the emails that I have who registered. And so, yeah, and I'll just look in the chat box to see if we have, okay. And Sharon, just to let you know, a lot of feedback, people saying thank you because someone said, great presentation, Sharon. I learned and reinforced my knowledge of using language with conflict situation. Thank you, Sharon and Grace. It's been helpful, educative, and a lot more. Thank you so much, everyone. On the 2nd of September, we're going to have another session. It's intervention for children with disabilities. So do well to watch the space for my email. And for a reminder from me, it's going to be same time, same link that you have. And thank you for all that you do, children and with children, and it's rewarding. I know sometimes it can be frustrating, tiring, but believe me, you are, building lives, you're molding lives, and you don't get to see the rewards like immediately, but then a lot more into the future, and you'll be glad that you did it so well. Thank you so much once again, everyone. I look forward to seeing you on the 2nd of September when we'll be talking about early intervention. How do we provide intervention? And come with questions that you have. Thank you so much to Anna Olanika, who has been a volunteer sign language interpreter today. We thank you so much. Thank you for making this available to participants who needed the accommodation. All right.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you so, so much. Yeah, everyone. The meeting is over now, and yeah, we can take our leave. And we'll see you on the 2nd of September.